Hey everyone, it's Corey from The Overlook, where we go over the books you may have overlooked. It's been a while since I've said that, and there's been a lot of changes. With that being said, I want to welcome back all the old friends, and I'm glad to anybody who's new that showed up over the last year or so. This will be part 1 of the final volume of the Superior Spider-Man saga. It's been a long time in the making, but we finally made it. And what better way to celebrate this momentous occasion with none other than the story of how Dr. Otto Octavius and Norman Osborn became rivals. Years ago, Otto Octavius received a letter inviting him to a manor in Europe, to a place which was surprisingly nicer than he had expected, considering the letter came from beyond the grave. Norman Osborn had been dead for years, but his reputation had lived on. In fact, it did more than live on. It grew. Otto is escorted by a seemingly friendly butler past the front gates, through the large Gothic doorway, and down the spacious corridor all the way to a study at the far corner of the manor, where Norman Osborn awaits him. Otto freezes mid-step and recoils. This amuses Norman. But before Osborn can say anything, Otto is already on the attack. At that moment, like the claws of a cornered cat, Otto's metallic tentacles jettison from his back, ripping his coat, and whip in different directions. Even now, if you were to ask Otto, he doesn't know why he started attacking. It's all a blur to him, really. All he knew for sure is that if Osborn had returned, so had the Green Goblin. The two had never mingled in the past, and Otto didn't want to start now. But the skirmish ends fairly quickly, with the help of the butler, no less, carrying a tray of nice refreshments for their dear guest. Otto tells Norman that he certainly can't blame the good doctor for reacting the way he did. If Otto had killed him, it would have been Norman's own fault. Norman smirks and tells Otto he wasn't the least bit worried. But there are more pressing matters. For this is the moment when everything changes. This, Norman declares, is the beginning of the end of Spider-Man. Of course, Otto is apprehensive at first. He's worked with others before, and it doesn't always go as smoothly as one would hope. Norman scoffs. He's well aware that Otto is referring to the Sinister Six. But this time, he sneers, Otto won't be working with a bunch of amateurs. He'll be working with Spider-Man's greatest enemy. Otto, for one, would say that notion is up for debate. However, surprisingly, the partnership went better than he had expected. He quickly got to work with the finest equipment money could buy. And Norman got to harness the greatest scientific mind of his generation, which, Otto suspected, is the real reason Norman wanted to team up. As bold as Norman was, jumping back into the thick of things after so many years away is not something you want to do alone. And together, they created some of the most remarkable creations. Not to mention, it began to be fun. It became clear that they were better off as a team, and that, with their combined expertise, they could actually squash the spider for good. One night, Otto and Norman sit silently in the study. Otto plays chess. Norman enjoys a drink. As he sips, he muses. I hate to tell you, Otto. I imagined a lot of things coming out of this partnership. The death of Spider-Man. Revolutionary weapons. But the one thing I definitely did not expect was a friendship. He gazes up at a picture of a woman above the fireplace. The only friend I ever had in my whole life was my wife, Emily. We were childhood sweethearts, you know. Then, a year after our son Harry was born, she fell ill and died. And with her went my one and only friend. Didn't it, Gobby? Unfazed by this, Otto mumbles, I'm sorry, Norman. Norman smiles back. Ah, hell, it's one more friend than you had. To this, Otto throws his head back and snorts with laughter. I was engaged once, actually. This causes Norman to spit out his drink. What? You old dog! What, was she blind? Her name was Mary Alice, and she was a co-worker at the research facility I was working at. But my mother didn't approve. She said I needed to take care of her and not some girl I hardly knew. I knew she was wrong, of course, that she had no right to suggest such a thing. But she was my mother, after all. And so I called off the engagement, sent the one friend I had made in the whole world away in tears. It broke my heart, really. And to add insult to injury, my mother then met a suitor of her own and left me in the dust. I nearly choked on the hypocrisy. Norman walks across the room, giving Otto his space. Is that what led you to this whole octopus look? In a way. Well, that's what we do, isn't it? Bury it all deep down and cover it up with a bunch of nonsense. Did you ever think of looking Mary Alice up? He asks earnestly. Maybe one day, Otto murmurs, when I've reached my goal of being the greatest scientist that ever lived. Norman stops. He then slowly turns around, raising an eyebrow. I beg your pardon? He says through gritted teeth. Your goal should be the destruction of Spider-Man. Otto, still unfazed, responds. They're one and the same, Norman. I just prefer to do it through science. Norman knocks over Otto's chessboard and the table with it to get the doctor's full attention. You'll do it the way I say! I haven't remained hidden for years to merely kill Spider-Man. I want to destroy him, to level him, to crush his very soul. Then, and only then, will it be worthy of the Goblin's return? And you should know that! He screams as he backhands Otto off his feet and across the room. The thing about crazy is it rears its head whenever it wants. The doctor is flung off his feet, across the room, and slams into the wall. He's not used to crazy. He works in absolutes, percentages. His calculations are precise. His issues, if you can call them that, are more obsession-based. He wipes the blood from his lip, and within an instant, his tendrils are jetting towards the goblin. One of his arms grabs the goblin by his skull and lifts him into the air. The goblin responds by grabbing on one of the doctor's other metallic arms and uses it as a conduit to channel an electric attack. The doctor's arms then react for him, flinging the goblin in the opposite direction. The goblin slams into the bookcase across the room, and dozens of bound testaments topple to the floor. He then scrambles to his feet and tosses one of his razor rings back at the doctor. It misses, and this piques the goblin's anger. He then decides to pull out a pumpkin bomb and ignites it. "Norman, don't!" the doctor yells as he raises his palms in defense. "The destruction of Spider-Man! Let's not waste our energy on each other!" The doctor should have dissolved this partnership right then and there. But he knew even the most perfect formula needs a spark. And just as quickly as it appears, crazy disappears. "You're right," he mumbles, defusing the bomb. "Plus, this skirmish has convinced me I obviously need more time to recover." It took a while, but Otto was finally able to bring Norman around to his side. It would be a combination of Otto's scientific genius and Norman's determination that would bring about Spider-Man's ultimate demise. So they waited for the perfect time to strike. Spider-Man had a busy few months, fighting spider slayers, the Scorpion, and then the gooey alien named Venom. Only now, he was red. Maybe it was a different alien, but who cares? Otto can't waste his time keeping up with these amateurs. The point was, Spider-Man was about to be reintroduced to his most superior adversaries. Truly, Otto and Norman were a dastardly combination. Together, they found a way to transfer Otto's extra appendages to Norman, in turn creating the Octo-Goblin. And Otto admits, seeing his work come to fruition, and seeing it on Norman like that, he felt, well, he doesn't have the words for it, and assumes it's the feeling of whatever the opposite of jealousy is. Anyway, Norman was right. The Sinister Six were more like second-rate henchmen, Otto's minions, if you will. But now, Otto has an equal, someone he felt worthy of his time and intellect, and it felt right. Otto returned to America and worked out arrangements. The weeks of planning were finally coming together, and he was excited as a kid on science fair morning. Then, he got the phone call. "Hello?" Otto answers as he sits alone, playing chess in a small motel room. "It's time," says a familiar voice. "What are you talking about? You're a week early." "Just meet me at the hospital." "The hospital? Why? What happened? Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Everything is good. I just thought this would work better." "What would work better? What are you talking about? Is the equipment all right?" "Yes, the equipment is all right. Stop being so attached to your stupid work. I bet you answered the phone with those fucking arms, didn't you?" "No," Otto mumbled, obviously lying. "Well, you need to be more spontaneous. Just meet me. Something is about to happen which will get our spider's attention." When the doctor arrives at the hospital, The goblin is in the process of removing his suit jacket. "What are we doing here?" the doctor asks.
"Change of plans,"
The goblin gleams. No change of plans. We stick to the plan.
I know. You're probably right. But I have to be honest. I haven't felt completely right since our whole soul versus science argument.
Are you kidding me? The doctor huffs.
It's just deep down, I know I'm right. I believe a man can come back from a wound. Hell, I'm proof of it. But can he come back from a broken soul?
The doctor takes a step backwards. Norman, now is not the time to drudge this up. We've worked.
You're right. But then I realized I can't get mad at you for having an opinion, because you've never experienced the pain I'm talking about.
Once again, the doctor takes a step backwards and raises his hands in a slight defense. Let's call it off. Call the whole thing off until...
We can't call it off. It's too late for that.
No, it's not. We'll simply wait a few weeks.
Otto!
We'll regroup and then we can...
Otto!
The doctor pauses and watches as a sinister sneer spreads across the goblin's face.
I found Mary Alice.
You what? The goblin, still grinning, starts to put on his mask.
I found your fiancé. Sorry, ex-fiancé. And now, bear with me, some of the effects of the goblin formula make me a little, whatever. But, well, I wanted you to feel the kind of pain and loss that I was talking about. So, I had her car run off the road.
The doctor lunges forward, grabbing the goblin by the collar. You did what?
Relax, the goblin coos. Relax. She's fine. Just a little banged up. Mostly. The doctors gave her a blood transfusion, and she's expected to make a full recovery. Which is why I then infected her blood with a deadly virus!
Memories are like people. You never know which ones are going to show up, or how long they're going to stay. One of the few times Mary Alice and Otto bickered was over the theory of memories. She believed memories took up a duration of time, whereas Otto said they took up only a geographical space, a point on the cerebral cortex no bigger than the head of a pin, he surmised. Only, he may have been wrong. Wrong about a lot of things. Because the time it took to process what the goblin had done to this innocent woman, and for reality to hit, felt like a lifetime. Norman Osborn was believed to be dead, and Otto wishes that was the case. He wanted it to be painful. He wanted the goblin to feel it. The doctor bellows out in rage, backhanding the goblin before his extra appendages jettison out once again from behind his back and tackle the goblin through the nearby wall. The goblin attempts to go on the defense, but his arms and legs are pinned down by the mechanical cables. The doctor declares that the goblin's cheap tricks won't help him here, and he approaches his soon-to-be prey. The goblin once confessed to the doctor that when he died, it was from a chest wound. And since the doctor wanted him to die all over again, that is where he strikes. And strikes. and strikes and strikes. The more the doctor pounded, the more he realized he wasn't trying to destroy the goblin's heart. And strikes. He was trying to destroy his own. And strikes. Stop it from feeling. And strikes. From caring. And strikes. From beating. And strikes. Because the doctor knew he had brought this horror on himself by doing business with the devil. And strikes. But it wasn't working. And strikes. In fact, the more the doctor hit the goblin, the more he was proving his point. That while the goblin was the one taking the physical beating and strikes, the doctor was the one who would never recover. Because that was the goblin's plan the whole time. Quite possibly, even from the beginning. Played out with the coldest of calculations, right down to knowing that the doctor's reaction would attract the attention the goblin needed. And, as a result, the last words the doctor ever said to the woman he had ever loved were barely words at all. And his exit, hardly a farewell. It was Otto's insistence that science alone was enough to kill Spider-Man that drove Norman to create this nightmare. So, of course he believed science alone would wake him from it. Otto swore that he would work tirelessly to find a cure for Mary Alice, letting nothing stand in his way. Not the police, not Spider-Man, not nature itself. It seems cartoonish now. A genius mind screaming at nature, attempting to defy the gods. But the truth is that he wasn't the brilliant scientist he is today. So he failed. Otto couldn't help but feel responsible for Mary Alice. Even though he hadn't seen her in years, the poor woman couldn't escape the curse of knowing him. He would have given anything to switch places with her. Even contemplated ending his own life as punishment for what he had caused. But that would have left no one to fulfill what truly needed to be accomplished. The death of the Green Goblin. Hey everyone, it's Corey from The Overlook, where we go over the books you may have overlooked. You know, I think I've been procrastinating on this video for 2 reasons. 1, I'm just kinda tired all the time. And 2, for me to make this video, I will have to start quoting the Green Goblin like right off the bat. So, if you have zero context for this story or my channel, it could be a little jarring, to say the least. But screw it. Let's do it. These are the final chapters of the Superior Spider-Man saga. Outside Empire State University, the Superior Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099 do their best to stave off the attacking automatons. The Spider Slayers, which were created by Alchemax engineers and commissioned by Mayor J. Jonah Jameson himself. But somehow, the Green Goblin, or now known as the Goblin King, has hacked their systems. He jeers at the 2 heroes with his cohort, Menace, as they watch the bugs squirm and try to attack the robot's weak points.
Ooh, brilliant! That's what I was trying to do by killing Lamaze! Rest his soul. But, just like these Spider Slayers, Spidey's gotten tougher. So, I guess I'll have to try harder. A younger, more vulnerable victim. Perhaps a damsel in distress. Someone old Spidey here saved in the past. That's another one from your win column, isn't it, Bug? Albeit a small victory. Menace, show him who I'm talking about!
Menace does as she is instructed and holds up a bound Anna Maria in front of the camera. Otto rages. He smashes the screen of the nearest Spider Slayer and vows to murder the king. Spider-Man 2099 sees all of this and attempts to reason with Otto that this is an obvious attempt to separate the two of them. Together, they are more than enough to take on the robots. But Otto has already made up his mind. He leaves Spider-Man 2099 alone to be overcome by his enemies. "You bithead!" the hero screams out. "I knew you were a poser. The real Spider-Man would never." Elsewhere, in the Mindscape, where Peter Parker's persona is trapped, reliving the life of Dr. Octopus. He remembers it now. He remembers it all. He was dying, enacting his boldest plan, and ensuring that, if it failed, there would be a contingency. His mind, his memories, everything he is, uploaded into a golden Octobot and transferred into the body of his greatest enemy. And, at the time, you would expect nothing less of the great Dr. Otto Octavius. Outside, Manhattan is being torn apart. Otto swore to protect this city better than Parker ever could. Now, he is forced to look at it in flames, racked with violence. The Goblin's hordes raging with impunity. His base destroyed. His men gone. Parker Industries in dire straits. The mayor has turned on him, even as he alienated the rest of his allies. But all that pales compared to one thing. Anna Maria, the woman he loves, is in the hands of a madman. And all of it is his fault. Like so many times before, the brilliant Otto Octavius, the master planner, the self-christened superior Spider-Man, has failed. Below, the police do what they can to buy time for more heroes to arrive, but it seems even the Avengers have their hands full. Thor fights off superpowered foes across the city, while Captain America and Iron Man help the vigilante Cardiac evacuate the Heart Clinic, which was previously destroyed by the Goblin King in an attempt to weaken Otto's psyche. The clinic is still filled with patients, some terminally ill. And even further down, Spider-Woman, Black Widow, and Wolverine are battling Spider Slayers in the streets when they are joined by the former police captain, Yuri Watanabe, as she introduces herself as her alter ego, the Wraith. In City Hall, every available reporter in the city has gathered to question Mayor J. Jonah Jameson on the current happenings in the newly hacked Spider Slayers. They ask if this is enough to motivate the mayor to resign. Of course not, he spouts. This is Alchemex's doing. They're the ones that created the goddamn machines in the first place. Liz Allen, former wife of Harry Osborn and current CEO of Alchemex, denies the allegations and publicly shames the mayor, stating that he has breached their agreed contract by putting the Slayers out in the public eye before the proper tests were set in place. Liz then cuts the webcam off. As she shuffles around her desk, she drops something. As she goes to pick it up, she is interrupted by her son, Normie. Quickly, Liz hides the item behind her back and tells her son to let her be. He must let his mother work. This is all for him, after all. Outside, Otto doesn't even know where to begin. Anna Maria is probably underground, but the goblins have miles of tunnels. His spider bots are no help. He has no armies, no allies. He's alone in this. Damn it, he thinks to himself. What would Parker do? That's when he hears laughter piercing the air behind him. Menace. Away, woman, he barks as he narrowly dodges her glider. I have no time to waste on lesser goblins. Menace continues to howl as she leads Spider-Man into an open subway.
Says the fool who's barely half a Spider-Man. But that works out nicely, doesn't it? 'Cause we have a girl who's barely half a hostage. But not for long. It's her time that's running short. This way, Spider-Puss. But hurry up. She's just dying to see you.
Back in the mindscape, Peter stands by as he lives through his own last moments. But something is off. He remembers this now. Parker, his old foe, was dying, trapped in his old, frail, decaying form. Dr. Octopus had finally won. Parker couldn't reverse the process, but enough of a link still existed to the point that Parker could still force Otto to relive his memories. Peter's memories. His own memories. And that's when it happens. Peter is reacquainted with his childhood, with Aunt May and Uncle Ben. He remembers that fateful day and him choosing to become a hero. He remembers every time he quit, every time he began again. He remembers Gwen, Felicia, and Mary Jane. He remembers the symbiote, and the goblins, and all his other adversaries. He remembers Jonah, the Bugle, and all his friends, new and old, failing and saving the city time and time again. Every triumph, every tragedy, every heartache, and the joy. Family, friends, the adventure of it all, and the fun. And it's all his. The good and the bad. He built that. And he's not going to surrender 1 second of it. And that's when Peter decides, once and for all, he's taking it back. All of it. In the Goblin Underground, Otto, fueled by rage, isn't even dodging Menace's attacks. The goblin bombs detonate point blank, and the razor rings shred apart what's left of the hero's costume. But Menace wouldn't have it any other way. She doesn't ever remember seeing Spider-Man so desperate. Her sister died because of him. And, make no mistake, the spider fake will die too. But, not until he has suffered. Menace continues to lead Spider-Man down the subway to a woman tied, helpless, on the train tracks. The sight of the woman is shortly followed by the piercing sounds of screeching metal as Otto looks up to see a barreling subway train piloted by the Goblin.
I've done bridges. This time I thought I'd go with tunnels.
The Goblin laughs. Anna Maria! Otto calls out as he lands on the passageway nearby. That's when he sees that it isn't Anna. It's Amy. Amy Chen, the child from the heart clinic.
It's another one you saved, Otto. She's making a full recovery. Although she's about to feel I might run down.
Otto holds his breath. If I miss, if I'm hit, there will be no one to save Anna Maria. What should I... Jump! Peter bellows from the back of Otto's brain, motivating him to react and leap forward, grab the girl, and pull her to safety. Just in time.
Oh, well done! That's one for you, Otto. One right move today. Admit all the failures. But remember, the other little darling is still in play.
Otto doesn't hear anything anymore. He doesn't hear the train, the Goblin, or the sobs of the little girl pressed against his chest. Just Peter. Train's gone. No sign of Menace either. They're off to put together their next set piece. One thing you can always count on is a Goblin showmanship. He then looks back to Otto. You screwed up, Otto. When there's time, you weigh options. When there's not, you act. And you always do the right thing, even if that means giving up the advantage, like I just did. You know I'm here now, and I know what that means. Round 2. Well, bring it. I'm ready this time. Yes. Otto agrees as he exits the subway and hands over Amy Chen to a nearby police officer. You are. I didn't really comprehend what I was in for. I was arrogant. No, it's more than that. We've both been in each other's heads. We know the truth. I'm arrogant, yes, but it's because I know, underneath it, that I'm not the best. I'm flawed, so I overcompensate. But you're guilt-ridden because deep down you know you are smarter than others, better. But it came at a painful price, so you sabotage yourself. That won't happen today. You said it yourself. When lives are at stake, you don't hesitate. Today, you will own up to it. Today, you must accept that you are superior. The superior hero. That is what we all need. That and nothing less. Peter, still trapped in Otto's mind, is left to watch as Otto swings them across the city and back to Parker Industries. As they enter the building and make their way to their lab, they are intercepted by Sajani, who is still on site. Not much time has passed since she and the Wraith cured Carly Cooper from the Goblin formula. Spider-Man? Shouldn't you be out fighting goblins? Whatever. It's a good thing you came, because we've had a... Silence, Miss Jaffrey. I have no time for you now, he counters as he enters the lab and begins closing the door behind him. Hey, that's Peter's lab. You can't just... Shut up! Otto slides the door closed and listens for the click of the lock. He then turns to his robot butler, the living brain. Robot, ready the chair. I will be entering the mindscape, he states as he sits down. The automaton walks over to his computer and prepares the machine before gently placing the helmet atop of Otto's head. Peter, apprehensive, tells him, Just so you know, Otto, if this is some kind of trap, I'm ready for anything. I believe you, he responds softly. That's why I'm doing this. And, just like that, everything from Otto's childhood starts to fade. His overly protective mother, his abusive father, the friends he never made, his first encounter with the wall crawler, and all the failures that followed. You must have no distractions, no confusion. I'm expunging all of my memories, one after the other. My time as a villain must be erased, along with all my heroic deeds. Peter watches as the visage of Amy Chen appears and dissolves. Professor Lamaze and Otto's heroic feats at the university, all gone. And, finally, a tear creeps up and rolls onto the side of Otto's cheek. What I've held on to so passionately. But it must go as well. My Anna Maria. Peter, stunned, almost doesn't respond. You really loved her. Yes, Otto responds. Peter could be mistaken, but he could have sworn he heard the man let out a small, pained chuckle. He gives Otto time, and they both stand, together, in silence, as they watch Otto's last precious memory of Anna Maria fade into nothingness. At this point, even Otto's voice begins to fade. And to save her, I must give up every part that I love. For I know only you can save her. Because you are the superior Spider-Man. Peter opens his eyes. He sits in silence for a moment. His mind, now more clear and, at the same time, more full than it's ever been. He wipes the tear off his cheek and quietly removes the helmet from his head. It's time, he decides, before standing to his feet and making his way to the closet. Peter removes the shredded costume Otto once bore and replaces it with something a little more familiar. Because now, it's his turn. Anna Maria Marconi is currently being held captive by the Goblin King. They stand atop a skyscraper in Manhattan. The king gently pulls off Anna Maria's blindfold and reveals to her the destruction and devastation below. He is dying to know what she thinks of the view.
See?
He asks her.
You're not in my dungeon anymore, princess. You're up in the tower now. Takes your breath away, doesn't it? The Goblin Underground is no more. Look upon my new kingdom. New York has fallen. Behold, my Goblin Nation.
Within Parker Industries, the newly restored Peter Parker is confronted by a co-worker. Sajani Jaffrey stands there, arms crossed, wondering exactly why Spider-Man showed up now, just so he could change his clothes. Before Peter could come up with a believable excuse, Carly Cooper interrupts. "The injection worked," she tells them. "Your friend, Peter Parker, used my blood to synthesize a cure." Peter, unaware of Otto's previous actions, gasps. "You have a way to neutralize Goblin serum? Can you make more? Fast?" 2 or 3 doses, but curing doesn't sound like you," Sajani responds. "Sure you wouldn't rather shoot them in the face? Or beat them half to death on webcam?" Peter smirks under his mask. "Guess I'm feeling like a new man." He grabs Carly's arm and rushes her into the next room. "Let's leave Miss Joffrey to her work," he says in his best superior Spider-Man voice. As soon as the door closes, Peter pulls off his mask and reveals to Carly that he is the one true Peter Parker. That he got his body back from Otto. He begins to explain from the beginning, when he first swapped bodies with Octavius and he tried to convince Carly on what happened, but she didn't believe him before. That's when Carly tells him that she already figured everything out. Unfortunately, for the two of them, there are more pressing matters. How did the Goblin King get so powerful so quickly? Carly points to the spider-bots scattered on the work desk. "You, Otto, covered this city with spider-bots and mini-bots looking for crime. But the Goblin hacked them, made them blind to anyone with a Goblin mask or logo." The conversation ends, and Peter zips away. This is bad, but he knows he can handle it. After what he just came back from, he feels like he can handle anything. But first, there's something he has to do. Something Otto would have considered unimportant. But there's nothing more important. Not in the whole world. Peter has to hear her voice and know she's okay. He taps his Bluetooth and says, "Secure line. Call Aunt May." Elsewhere, Mayor Jameson trashes his office in frustration.
"I'm ruined,"
He yells.
"Spider Slayers! My Spider Slayers! Attacking police! Wearing my face! There's no coming back from this. And I have no one to blame but myself. Except those charlatans at Alchemax. They designed those robots. At least they'll go down with me. No company can put a positive spin on such a debacle."
Meanwhile, across the city, Ty Stone watches all the destruction from his spider slayers from the comfort of his lab. He live streams the broadcast to those wealthy enough to be in the know. These slayers may have been hacked by the Goblin King, but he can always make more, and there's still room to capitalize. "Bidding," he tells the viewers. starts at 12 million per unit. Back at Empire State University, Spider-Man 2099 stands atop the broken Spider Slayers. Think that's all of them, he huffs. Not quite. Spider-Man charges in and rams the last standing Slayer into the wall before it can get the drop on the hero. Miguel O'Hara? What are you doing in this time? Spider-Man 2099 rushes Spider-Man and grabs him by the throat before sinking his claws into Spider-Man's skin. You left me to fight all those shocking robots so you could change costumes? Did you even try to save that girl? Wait! Spider-Man holds up his hands in defense. I was brain swapped with Doc Ock, so I don't know what's been happening. But I'm off to fight the Green Goblin, and I could really use some help, old buddy, old pal. As the two Spider-Men zip across Midtown, they run into the Avengers and the Wraith, battling against the Goblin Knight and a swarm of Spider Slayers. Iron Man calls for backup. It seems he and Thor have their hands tied. Suddenly, a loud screech pierces the air, causing the majority of the heroes to fall to their knees. Not happening, Stark! The Goblin Knight cries. All of these other heroes are a joke! A joke barely worth my sonic laugh! Too bad that doesn't work on everyone, Spider-Man snaps, kicking the Knight in the face. Hobgoblin, right? New outfit, same glass jaw. The Goblin Knight curses Spider-Man and his special little earpieces and gives the hero an ultimatum. He can either save Anna Maria or he can chase him. The Knight flutters away, but not before warning Spider-Man. Just remember, when the Goblin King gets bored, he gets creative. Spider-Man 2099 wants to go after the Fiend, but Spider-Man tells him he just triangulated the signal guiding the robots, and it's coming from Oscorp. Before they can leave, Captain America spots the two, stating that the help was more than welcome, but he thought Spider-Man quit the team. I did? Like that's even possible? Spider-Man chuckles softly. Cap, you know what they say. Once an Avenger... hold the fort. We Spider guys are off to shut this down at the source. The two swing away, and Black Widow asks the captain, two of them now? At least one sounds right for a change. We'll figure it out later, he responds, when we've taken back the city. The Spider-Men approach Oscorp Tower. Peter, shocked, reads off the letters on the side of the building. Alchemax? What happened to Oscorp? It merged with Allen Chemical months ago, Miguel tells him. This is the beginning of the megacorp that runs Nuevo York in my time. You vid what that means, don't you? We can't stop them. They just get bigger until they... One thing at a time. We shut off the robots, we stop Osborn, and we save the hostage. You sound pretty sure of yourself. Trust me, when it comes to stuff like this, I have a 6. Tag! You're it! Menace swoops in out of nowhere and tackles Spider-Man 2099 from behind with her Goblin glider, sending him crashing through the window of the Alchemex building. Ooh, I bet that hurt! I'm so happy you're here. The Goblin King would never forgive me if I killed Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2099 hits the ground. His momentum causes him to roll in the broken glass once he does. Menace uses this opportunity to jump on top of the hero and begins to strangle him.
But luckily, he brought a spare. And I know from experience that your friend cares more about the Goblin King than your worthless life. Too bad. So sad.
Spider-Man sneaks behind Menace and punches her square in the back of the head. You want to talk sad, Menace? That helmet. Your hair. Dazed, she releases Spider-Man 2099.
Not fair,
She mumbles.
2 against 1.
Yeah? Let's see if I can increase those odds. 2 spiders against 1 ex-Goblin. Spider-Man grabs the syringe filled with the cure and injects Menace in her neck. Instantly, it starts to take effect, transforming her to her normal self. Spider-Man webs Menace up and runs to help Spider-Man 2099 off the floor. However, before he can say anything, the two hear a high-pitched noise from down the hall. You hear laughter? Spider-Man 2099 asks, attempting to make sure that he doesn't have a concussion. Yeah, from in there. Spider-Man points to the office of Liz Allen. And with goblins, laughing's never good. And this just might be the creepiest I've ever heard. As the two open the double doors of the office, they see Normie Osborn sitting in the chair behind the desk, waiting for them.
He. All for me. This has all been for me, because I'm so special,
Normie tells them. At that moment, Liz Allen and Ty Stone storm into the room from an alternate doorway.
Normie? Thank God. There you are.
And Spider-Men. Even better. There's no time. We have to get out fast. I saw the camera feed on the roof. It's wired to explode. Tiberius Stone? Spider-Man interrupts, shocked. Liz, you can't trust. Spider-Man 2099 then cuts off Spider-Man. The signal controlling the Spider Slayers originates here. We have to get clear, Liz reaffirms while helping Normie get out the chair. All of us. Ty Stone, however, sees this as his opportunity to land a sneak attack on the wall crawler and activates his hidden device that scrambles Peter's spider signal. Peter's brain begins to sear as he doubles over in pain. Ty stands there, victorious, but before he can see it coming, Miguel punches him across the jaw, rendering him unconscious and causing him to drop the device to the ground. Maybe I can't save the future, Miguel says, looking down at Ty. But holy shock, that felt good. Liz kneels over and examines the device. A jammer clearly made to hurt Spider-Man. Elsie Stone answers for this. She turns her focus to Peter. The Green Goblin's up there with explosives, and he's determined to use them. You have no idea what that lunatic's been forcing me and Alchemax to do. Miguel grabs Ty and Menace onto each of his shoulders and motions for Liz and Normie to come with him. You're pretty beat up, he tells Peter flatly. I'm good, Peter shoots back as he starts for the open window. My head's clear now. Trust me, it's clearer than it's been in ages. I'm going after the goblin. And the girl. That's what I do. When Peter makes it to the top of Alchemax, he scans the area to find there are pumpkin bombs spread everywhere in a wild cable network from one central point to every corner of the roof of the building. And, tied to that central point, he finds Anna Maria. Above him, the sound of a roaring jet engine slowly getting drowned out by laughter.
And here he is at last, the hero of our little drama. Just in time for the thrilling climax. But wait, there's a twist. The hero isn't one at all. In fact, he never was. Really, Otto, you're just embarrassing yourself with this charade. Granted, you were never on my level, but being a bad guy suited you. Saving the little lady is your last remaining achievement as Spider-Man. When it all goes boom, you'll have nothing left.
Except the dignity of knowing I never carried a man purse. Peter shoots back. The laughter stops as the goblin beams down at the hero.
It's you!
He hisses. Peter prepares himself for the attack and responds, the one and only. The Goblin King prepares to flee the scene. He presses a button on a hidden device which activates the detonation timer. Anna Maria looks over at the pumpkin bomb beside her and sees the clock start down from 60.
This wasn't in the program,
he huffs.
Another time. Gotta fly.
Spider-Man uses all of his strength to leap into the air, attempting to catch up with his foe. No, more like, gotta run. 'Cause the real me always brings out your true color, Goblin. Yellow.
No!
Screams the king as he hurls one of his goblin razors.
The real Spider-Man would never leave that dwarf to die. Never!
Yeah, you're Osborn, all right. Always underestimating everyone. Me, Otto, and Ms. Marconi. Spider-Man snatches the razor out of the air and tosses it towards the roof. And from everything I've seen about her, Anna Maria's a woman who can look after herself. The razor embeds itself into the wall just a few feet away from Anna Maria, and she quickly crawls over to use the blade to help free herself from her bindings. All the while, the two are still going at it in the air above her.
You think I'm afraid of you? I've beaten you before. I've crushed you.
Spider-Man bridges the gap, getting close enough to grab onto the goblin by the wrists. Yeah? You're great against rookie Spider-Man, but I've crushed you too. Spider-Man squeezes down and you can hear a visceral crack as the goblin's bones begin to break. He screams out in pain before laughing and lunging forward, headbutting the wall crawler in the center of his face.
Never for long,
he spits. The two's entanglement causes the glider to go off balance, sending them careening to the New York streets below. Spider-Man decides it's time to put an end to the goblin's antics, for good. There's more than one way to end a goblin, he says. Say ah! Spider-Man reaches into his pocket and takes out the last syringe with the cure. The Goblin King quickly smacks it away.
I don't think so, Spider,
he grunts. Spider-Man then grabs onto the Goblin's mask. He rips his arm backwards, tearing off the mask and revealing the face below. Fine, I'll find another way to wipe that grin off your face.
Sticky fingers,
the Goblin says, impressed.
Clever. Always wondered why you never did that trick before.
Before? Spider-Man questions. Pal, I have absolutely no idea who you are. The familiar, piercing laughter leaves a very unfamiliar face.
That's the point, imbecile. I am Norman Osborn, but my face was too well known, too compromised, so I changed it. Today, I'm Alchemax Executive Mason Banks. Tomorrow, I'll be someone else. Whoever it takes to get the job done.
With less than 15 seconds left on the pumpkin bombs, the two continue to struggle.
Criminal empires are fine, but corporations really run the world. So I built up Alchemax, a legacy for the Osborn name.
Wait, you're changing your name to Alchemax?
Shut up, fool! It's an empire for my grandson! A monument that will live for centuries!
Or at least until 2099, Spider-Man whispers. So why the bomb, genius?
Collateral damage! It couldn't be the only building in the city not hit by goblins. Can't have it connected to them. Or this face! You never should have unmasked me!
Spider-Man counters. Oh, that's not why I did it, Chuckles. See, with your goblin protocols in effect, none of the mini spider bots I brought with me could see you.
What?
The Goblin shouts in disgust as a swarm of miniature spider bots begin crawling from Spider-Man's suit onto him. They cover him up from his arms to his face and begin to burrow in his skin. Hope you enjoy all those little guys, Osborn. Everyone's loaded with a goblin cure, courtesy of the late Otto Octavius. Which reminds me, I've got a promise to keep. Back on the building, with barely any time to spare, Anna Maria frees herself from her bindings and sprints towards the edge of the roof before jumping off, arms reaching out for Spider-Man. He sees this and kicks off his enemy and vaults in her direction. Both the heroes and the girls jump, fall short, and he has no choice but to grab her out of the air with one of his webs. But it will be okay, he tells himself. He's practiced this 1,000 times. Where to latch on to someone, how much counterforce to use when reeling them in. At this point, Peter could do it in his sleep, because he's determined never to relive old nightmares. At the same time, Norman is losing control of the Goblin glider, and he falls from it. Spider-Man catches Anna Maria, and, perhaps against his better judgment, swings by to catch Norman too. Hold on tight, Anna Maria. We have a very full flight today.
I don't understand.
Why? Norman stammers. Why'd you fall? 'Cause your goblin strength's gone. Why'd I save you? Because I'm Spider-Man. And when I'm around, no one dies. Even you. Later, on the ground, Spider-Man lands with his 2 passengers and is greeted by Spider-Man 2099, Ty Stone, as well as Liz Allen and her son, Normie. I figure all it'll take is a DNA test and Mason Banks can answer for Norman Osborn's crimes in a court of... Suddenly, Spider-Man's spider sense goes wild. Once again, he doubles over in pain, loosening his hold on his captive, and falls to his knees. "The spider sense jammer!" Miguel shouts as he looks over and sees Liz Allen holding the device in her hand. "Oh God, I'm sorry," she begins. I never meant seeing Mason after all he did to us. I just tensed up." "You expect us to buy that? He's gotten away because of you." "It's okay," Spider-Man tells his counterpart. "I believe her. We're old friends. I know you didn't mean it, Liz." Or does he? Peter decides he'll have to keep a close eye on her. Something's definitely off with Liz Allen. And her kid. As Ty, Liz, and Normie walk away, Normie smirks, and Liz whispers quietly, "Remember, Normie, Mommy and Grandpa did this for you. All for you." One street over, Norman Osborn drives an empty subway car back into the shadows of his former kingdom.
So theatrical, he thinks. And pointless. What was I thinking? The strength and healing powers of the Goblin serum are gone from my system. But for the first time in ages, so too is the madness. I won. I got exactly what I wanted. Alchemax has been secured for my heir and my legacy. And next time, I'll return with a new plan and a new face. All these years, Spider-Man and his kind have dealt with the giggling lunatic, a madman. You've never faced the real Norman Osborn, a man with all his wits about him. Poor fools. Next time, you'll never see me coming.
After everything quiets down, Spider-Man 2099 prepares to set off. He places his hand on Spider-Man's shoulder. The authorities have everything under control now. That's my cue to leave, before they ask questions I'm not ready to answer. But it was good to see you again. The real you. Likewise, pal. Thanks for everything. See you in the future. I wish. Spider-Man 2099 zips away. As Spider-Man watches his friend leave over the skyline, the Avengers appear overhead. Now they show up, he thinks to himself. After the bad guys bolted? Congrats, Parker. You're back with your luck intact. Well, maybe not. After all, I saved the girl, and no one died. That's when he notices Anna Maria, huddled in an EMT blanket, approaching him from behind. Spider-Man? Please, you're Peter Parker's friend. I heard he might be dead. Do you know? Don't worry, Peter's fine, Spider-Man assures her. Take my word for it. He's better than ever. Anna Maria collapses to her knees. Oh, God. Spider-Man kneels down to help her to her feet. Hey, let me get you some help. You've been through a lot. No,
I'm okay, now that I know Peter's alright.
Whoa. He really means that much to you, huh?
Everything!
She cries.
He's just the kindest, most thoughtful person. And his mind! If you only knew him the way I do, he's just so amazing. Spider-Man, promise me, if you see Peter, tell him I'm safe, okay?
I promise. Spider-Man responds quietly. Her next words fading as he gets lost in thought.
Thanks for saving us. For a while I thought, no, I just can't imagine a life without him.
As Spider-Man watches the paramedics walk Anna Maria away, the triumphant feeling he had so briefly fades with them. Anna Maria loved Otto. Peter was wrong. For him to even be here, someone had to die. Otto Octavius couldn't help but feel responsible for the death of Mary Alice. Even though he hadn't seen her in years, the poor woman couldn't escape the curse of knowing him. Otto would have given anything to switch places with her, even contemplated ending his own life as punishment for what he had caused. But that would have left no one to fulfill the task that truly needed to be accomplished: the death of the Green Goblin. Later, in the dead of night, Otto bursts into the foyer of Norman's mansion, bellowing for him to show himself. Otto breaks down the front doors, sending shattered glass crashing to the marble floors. He searches his surroundings, but Norman is nowhere to be found. That is when he hears the intercom. "Welcome back, Otto. You look a little tired. Everything all right?" Otto turns on his heel and jettisons one of his metallic arms forward, sending it straight through a nearby portrait of his rival. Otto calls out again for Norman to face him. Norman claims he wanted to toughen Otto up. Well, he's done it. Now, he must face the wrath of a man with nothing to lose. "Nothing to lose?" Norman asks through the speaker. "My dear man, have you not been paying attention? There's always something to lose. And if you'll join me in the study, I'll be happy to keep proving it to you." "You'll rue the day, you miserable beast," Otto cries as he races down the hallway, destroying everything in sight. "I'll make you wish you never." Otto's words were cut short as he realizes the trap laid for him. Multiple machine guns emerge from the walls, pointing themselves at Otto. Before he can react, his arms do. Otto's titanium tendrils begin spiraling around him like a cyclone, preparing themselves for the incoming barrage. "You dare march into my secret lair, alone?" Norman asks. A bullet manages to break the barrier and hits Otto in the shoulder. Furious, he yells, "I don't need any help to rip you limb from limb." Norman roars with laughter, telling Otto that he isn't home at his manor. He isn't even in the country. Otto denies the claim, stating Norman is merely hiding. "Oh, I know you wish that to be true, but to be honest, while this tragedy will shape your life,
There's a chance I won't even remember it. It was that inconsequential.
Why? Otto asks. Why did you do it? Norman, I know why you said you did it, but really, why? I thought we shared something. There's a pause before Norman responds.
We did, Otto. We shared a fundamental difference. But hopefully, now you share my view.
At that moment, Otto hears a noise coming from the corner behind a dresser. You are here! Otto grabs the dresser and crushes it within the grasp of his iron claws, sending splinters of wood flying in every direction and revealing Norman's butler, cowering in fear. Please, don't! He begs.
Wrong again, Doctor. It's only my butler. Plus, a little memento I wanted you to have. Figured you're so attached to those arms of yours, no pun intended, that I'd give you back the work we did together as a souvenir. Although, who am I kidding? I'm not going to top the souvenir I already gave you, am I?
In a fury, Otto grabs the butler and roars as he holds him up, strangling the very air out of his lungs.
Do it! Norman chides. Kill him! Rage is better than reason, Otto. Free yourself from your equations and theories. Stop trying to be the perfect person your mother wanted you to be. Be my number 2!
Otto roars once again and throws the butler against the nearby wall. The shock from the impact causes the books on the bookshelf a few feet away to shuffle, revealing a hidden camera. Otto points his finger straight at the lens and demands for Norman to heed his words. Otto knows that Goblin formula can protect Norman's body, but it can do nothing for his ego. And that's where Otto is going to hit him the hardest, because he is going to win. Do you hear me? I'm going to stick to my ways, and I'm going to be the one who defeats Spider-Man. It might not be today. It might not be this year. But you have my word that our paths will not cross again until I have killed the spider and crowned myself his superior enemy. And so, Otto's quest to destroy Spider-Man would become twofold. Instead of the enemy of his enemy being his friend, he became Otto's inspiration, his drive, his nemesis. For Otto knew that wherever Norman was, and despite what he had said, the fear of losing was always consuming him. Otto returned to his work with a focus he never knew he had, while also keeping tabs on everything the Goblin was up to. For every time he messed with the spider's mind, Otto mastered a new piece of murderous machinery. And when Norman reached new lows in his tactics to get rid of the spider, Otto reached new heights in his deadly scientific discoveries. Different roads to the same destination, some would say. Yet, neither Goblin nor he could ever seal the deal. Be it through science or savagery, the stench of failure permeated their beings. But, like two heavyweights fighting to win the title, they kept at it for far too long. Until finally, Otto decided that the way to prove he was the superior enemy was to become the superior hero. And it worked. Not only did he eliminate the inferior Spider-Man through science, it gave Otto a second chance at life, and a second chance at love, and a second chance at redemption. But, of course, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And history has a way of repeating itself. Certain things feel all too familiar. Otto remembers thinking he would have willingly switched places if it meant he could have saved Mary Alice. And while it was a lifetime before he would find someone like Mary Alice again. So, this time, with a better man waiting in the wings, he did. Otto did. He switched places with me, saving both Anna Maria and myself. My name's Peter Parker. The real Peter Parker, that is. For a while, I had been locked in this brain that Ock and I both shared. Call my role in all this what you will. A participant in his life, an observer to his memories. But watching this particular story unfold has given me new perspective on Ock's actions. And while I don't condone the things he's done, I can at least understand him a bit more. To his credit, it was Otto's scientific finding that helped create the Goblin cure. So in a way, he did win his battle with Norman. Because not only did he kill the Green Goblin as we know him, but he did it through science. The irony being that what finally enabled this scientific mastermind to become a superior person was when he stopped thinking with his head and started thinking with his heart. As for me, I'm just happy to be back. A lot has changed in my life, and a lot of consequences need to be faced. But for the time being, it feels good to look in the mirror and know that behind those baby browns is the amazing Spider-Man. Hey everyone, it's Corey from The Overlook, where we go over the books you may have overlooked. This is the final Superior Spider-Man video. In the final Superior Spider-Man saga, we finally did it. After 2 1.5-year breaks in between, we finally finished this story. I think we may have started this back in 2021 and we are wrapping it up at the end of 2024. Didn't even take this much time in real time to get through it, but we did it. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy ride that this channel has been on, through the lives, through the switching the topics that we cover, to finding a home with Doom Patrol way back when, to getting hit pretty rough in life and having to fall back and then coming back with it more narrated, like kind of like a creepypasta. This channel has been through a lot of ups and downs, and to all of you guys who have been here with us, I appreciate it. Thank you. And anyone who has ever clicked on a single video, liked a single video, written a single comment, hopped in a live, suggested what we go through next, giving us tips or anything. Anybody who has ever interacted with the channel or the YouTube or the Twitches, I appreciate you. And I hope that we can have more in the future with less time in between. The channel is not done. We are not through with all this. There is still more to come. But I just wanted to say, none of this would even be here without you guys. Every single comment, every single like, every single subscriber. I see all of you, and I appreciate all the support. I hope everyone has a great rest of the day.